Welcome to the channel, guys. So today's project is going to be showing you guys my method on how I trim off a rib on a supercharger belt. Now, sometimes you're going to find that you need a certain size and it doesn't come in your particular rib size. So in this case, I have an 11 rib supercharger belt. This is a 12. This is the size I need. And they didn't have the particular belt I want, which is a heavy duty belt, in this particular size, so I went to the Conti Extreme Duty Poly V. But the only downside is that it's a 12 rib belt, so I can easily trim off one rib, and I want to show you how to do that like a professional and not how to screw it up and hack up your belt. So there's some tools you're going to need, and the method I've developed over years of doing this is you're going to need a straight edge. Some kind of straight edge. This is like an 18-inch, well actually a 2-foot straight edge ruler. So I use that. You're going to want a brand new sharp razor blade. If you have one that's used, it's not going to cut as well, obviously. I prefer to have a brand new blade. Now I prefer this style right here because I can have my hand holding this firmly. Now you can use, I've used this method with the box blade before, and this hurts your hands a lot. So you might have to wear gloves if you're having to resort to this method. But this works as well. It just takes longer because you can't make deeper cuts into the belt. But this works as well if you have a brand new sharp blade. Makes life a lot easier. But I like this kind of razor blade, you know, your standard utility knife, because I can get a good purchase on this. And then I use a cutting board of some sort, or you can just use a piece of wood or whatever, because you will end up gouging up the surface, scoring the belt back and forth over and over again. So those are some tips that I use. It makes for a super clean cut, professional cut belt finish, and it looks like OEM or identical to a brand new belt when you're done with it. All right, so I went ahead and laid out my cutting board. And let's get started doing this. This belt here is very thick. It's thicker than normal, your standard micro V belts. This is a heavy duty like fleet type belt and good for use on high performance superchargers, because of the stiffness and the thickness and the compound of the actual belt material. So let's go ahead and lay this out very simply. You're going to want to make a long pass. So I'm going to set this up to flatten out with the straight edge like this, and use the straight edge as a guide. And I'm going to line up right at that rib. So I made this whole thing parallel with the actual ribs of the belt, and I'm going to essentially, very easily, go ahead and trim off one rib at a time, all the way around the belt. Now, you're going to have to score this multiple times. You might have to make like 2-3 passes on the whole thing, but this is the method I use, and I'll show you right here how easy it is. So I'm going to go ahead and hold down the center of this straight edge so it keeps the belt nice and firmly against the cutting board, and you're not dealing with all these like wrinkles and stuff in the belt and kink points. So this makes it super easy. So I'm going to start at the very top of the straight edge and then make it my way down to the bottom. As I'm doing this, I'm keeping that blade perpendicular to the cutting surface here. So I'm literally cutting straight down into the bottom of the groove, the valley of the groove, that bottom. And essentially just scoring it 2-3 times, and then it'll break loose. So as you can see, it will feel different as you break through, and now I completely have one rib cut off. Now I'm going to keep on rotating this belt and do that all the way around now. Just 2 feet at a time, and it doesn't take that long. This method here prevents the belt from fraying and causing any other additional issues with the belt, since you're cutting it, you know, essentially perfectly in the rib. So you want to line up the very end of it with the previous cut. And we're going to do the same thing down here. And it's very important to keep that firm pressure on the straight edge, because you don't want this thing walking around. But as I do this, I'm always using this tool, the razor blade, as a feeler, and making sure that it feels like it's inside the groove. So you can make a dry pass on here and see how it feels, and you'll feel it that it locks into place. As long as you're holding this down, you should be good to go and use the straight edge as a guide to make your cut. There you go. Just take your time. It doesn't honestly take that long to do it right. And as you can see, it's a seamless cut all the way around. So it takes about 3 or 4 attempts to get this fully cut. But once you get the hang of it, it's super easy. There we go. So now we have a perfectly cut 11 rib belt from a 12 rib. And as you can see, this is what's left over. One perfect rib that now I'm going to throw away because I don't need this. I haven't found a good use for these types of remnants. Maybe if you guys have a great idea, put it in the comments below, but I could find this useful for something because it's super sturdy. It's basically like a big rubber band, strong, you know. I don't know. I've never really tried to do anything with these, but that there is the method that I use. I've developed over the past few years of cutting supercharger belts on my car, and I just wanted to share that with you guys. So if you have any questions or comments, please place them right down below. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please go ahead and do so. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.